India's black. Government mops up over 80,000 crore rupees in just the first 7 days of the auctions. Madhya Pradesh tops the list, raking in nearly 40,000 crore rupees. Chhattisgarh is the second with over 26,000 crores. The stage is set for the much-awaited budget session to begin this Monday. State governments could hit the jackpot as the 14th Finance Commission may propose a sharp increase in the devolution of funds. The stock market would also remain open on budget day. Expect growth to take precedence over fiscal deficit in the upcoming budget. That's the big finding of the CNBC TV 18 BMR pre-budget poll. Majority also expect tax ops to boost manufacturing and guard to be deferred, but the surcharge on high-income earners could continue and no forward movement on DTC is likely, says the poll. Market regulator SEBI cracks the whip on 30 companies for misusing the long-term capital gains tax exemption. CNBC TV 18 had put the spotlight on some of these companies with dubious balance sheets. The Delhi police arrests a former journalist and an energy consultant as it probes the alleged leak at the oil ministry. Budget recommendations and documents from coal and power ministries also recovered from the accused. 7 people have been arrested so far. Markets snap a 7-day winning streak. The Sensex tumbles over 230 points as blue chips see profit booking. The National Stock Exchange removes DLF and JSPL from the Nifty and adds Idea Cellular and Yes Bank.
This has no adverse impact on the competition.
A day after clearing Ajay Singh's return to SpiceJet, the chairman of the Competition Commission, Ashok Chawla, says it didn't take much time to wave the green flag as the deal will not affect competition. The CCI also approves the Kotak ING Vysya Bank deal. With just 40 days to go for corporate India to follow the new accounting standards, the government notifies the rules. Experts say the new rules will fill the gaps and improve India's corporate governance ranking. A day of high drama in Bihar. Jitin Ram Manjhi steps down as the chief minister just minutes before the trust vote. The governor invites Nitish Kumar to form the government. The swearing-in will take place this Sunday. The Coast Guard releases the first video of the Pakistani boat that was intercepted on New Year's Eve off the coast of Porbandar. Also sticks to its claims that the boat was set on fire by its own crew. The budget caravan rolls on despite flagship government schemes. Over 4 crore people are homeless in rural India. A ground report from the hinterlands of Madhya Pradesh coming up.
Forward swinging. Going the same way. He's homeless. Slapped it through the off.
Well, after 7 days and 10 matches at the Cricket Carnival down under, the fastest 50 in a World Cup is here. New Zealand's Brendan McCullum mauled the English bowling after Tim Southee cleaned up the batsman. India has had a strong start, beating arch rivals Pakistan, but the big test awaits this Sunday when Dhoni's men take on the mighty South Africa. Good evening. Thanks very much for joining us on India Business Hour. We won't give it back. If we beat South Africa, then we can say we won't give it back with some gumption. But first up, the day's trading action. The 7-day winning streak is finally over. Stocks tumbling in what was yet another volatile session. The Sensex lost about 230 points as blue chips saw some profit booking. The Nifty is now near the 8,800 mark as we head into the budget week. The mid-caps outperformed the blue chips and the index ended just marginally in the red. Sources say the market regulator has intimated exchanges that trading will be conducted on budget day. That's the 28th of February. Remember, it's a Saturday. I spoke with Ramesh Thamani of the BSE earlier. He has welcomed the move and said that the markets are in for another volatile week ahead as we move towards the budget. Remember, we are still awaiting final intimation or a notification from the stock exchanges on the markets remaining open on the 28th. That's budget day.
Markets, regulator sometimes works in mysterious ways. I'm not really sure what the logic was. I think there's a lot of past precedents, so the market is always open on budget day. Whichever date was delivered, if markets, the budget, if you recall a few years back before Yashwant Sinha, when Yashwant Sinha was finance minister, the budget used to come in the evening, and the markets would remain opens in the evening also for a special budget session. Before television, of course, there was the PTI carrying news flashes, and the market would still remain open. So there was no logic that I can understand why they would delay a decision so long. But having said that, I'm glad it's open now, and I think it will save the market from a lot of very unnecessary volatility. The entire country looks to the Sensex to decide how the budget has been voted on by the financial people. So I think it's very important to continue sending the message as we have for the last quarter of a century.
Ramesh, we've seen a fair amount of volatility this week, and of course next week, starting next week, it's the crucial budget week. How do you expect the markets to trade ahead of the budget, ahead of that big day? And do you believe that we're up for an even more volatile week ahead?
Well, volatile, of course, that goes hand in glove with the market, that the budget week tends to be a very volatile day. We've seen almost, 2-3% swings plus and minus, sometimes intraday within the market. Having said that, the undertone of the market looks fine leading up to the budget. There is no great signs of excesses. I think the IPO market is now opening up, whether it's an offer for sale for the PSU or some big IPOs are scheduled after the budget. So that will tend to suck money away from the market. But I think as we stand now, I'm pretty sanguine over the budget. I think the market will have a good head of steam leading up to the budget.
What is it that you'll be looking for, Ramesh, specifically from the finance minister? It could be a message as far as a larger thrust on infrastructure is concerned. We could perhaps see some movement towards channeling investments into different investment schemes. There is a sense that maybe there could be a greater spends as far as infrastructure is concerned on the part of the government to stimulate the economy. What is it that you would be looking for, and what would then qualify this as a historic budget for you?
I think we'll have to read the tea leaves as and when they appear, but clearly we don't want to see more populist measures. We don't want to see more tax and spend measures. We don't want to see, as someone famously said, that a Congress budget with saffron lipstick. I think we want to see bold steps to reinvigorate the economy, to make sure we get a path of 6-7% growth, to see better governance, to see some of the major bills passed through in this session of Parliament, the land acquisition bill, the insurance bill. So there's a whole plethora of things that the market will be looking for, and we'll be watching very closely. Markets are, fail or succeed also on the direct taxation front. So I hope there will not be any move to, increase capital gains, not necessarily capital gains, but increase the tax rates again, increase the service tax too extortionately. I think we want the government administration to be brought under control in terms of spend, and the tax to GDP ratio to be increased in a beneficial manner, and of course then the plethora of policy regulations that the market is looking for. So, there will be a number of cues that the market will be looking upon, starting with the fiscal deficit. But what we're looking for is a roadmap, a plan. What does the government see India 5 years from now, and what are the plans to get it? How are the roads going to be built? How is power going to be supplied? How is industry going to be made more competitive? Low-cost housing, made in India. All these things market will be looking for. And, we'll have to wait till the budget to get a sense of what the direction the government is planning to take.
Well, that's Ramesh Tamani saying that this could be the third most historic budget that India has seen after Manmohan Singh's 1991 budget and Chidambaram's dream budget. Meanwhile, the National Stock Exchange today said that DLF and Jindal Steel and Power are out of the Nifty as part of a periodic review. Idea Cellular and Yes Bank will now take their place. These changes will become effective from the 27th of March, so that's the Nifty 50-week composition. But on to the top story tonight, over 83,000 crore rupees and counting. The government is raking in the moolah as the coal mine auction enters day 7. Just one small mine is up for grabs today at Gare Palma in Chhattisgarh. Jaiswal Nika with the prior allotee, and it has reserves of over 12 metric tons. And after staging a coup yesterday, Jindal Steel and Power received a jolt today. The company was disqualified from bidding for the Gare Palma 4x1. Nigel joins us now with more details. Nigel, how big a blow is this for JSPL?
Well, JSPL started off in the green in today's trading session, but intraday it was reacting to news that in fact the company will not be able to bid for their coal mine. That's a Gare Palma 4x1 coal mine. That's scheduled tomorrow. That's the 21st of February. And in fact, JSPL's name did not feature in this particular list. Remember that originally over the past 10 years or so, they have been mining their coal reserves from this block, and they were the owners, and they were to be the owners till the 31st of March 2015. The bidders that have qualified, they're up for you on the screen. The likes of Balco, Hindalco as well as Cesa Sterlite, they'll be bidding from 11 a.m. on 21st of February itself. What's the significance of this mine? You can mine nearly around 6 million tons per annum, and also the total reserves are in excess of around 120 million tons. So it's a fairly big mine. Now JSPL, they were using all the coal that they were mining from this particular block for their Raigad steel plant. So they'll have to scout elsewhere. That's why the stock corrected from the top. But when we started our trade, the stock was fairly excited. It was up in the green and it's following up a big 25% rally that we saw yesterday. That's because JPL won the Garipalma for 2 and 3 coal blocks at a negative bidding price of around 108 rupees per ton. Brokerages fairly excited on the stock. So Macquarie, they have an outperform rating, a 12-month price target of around 262 rupees. They believe that the 1,000 megawatt power plant can give an ROE in excess of around 40%. They say that the resolution of the iron ore situation, that's the key catalyst for the stock, and they believe that the stock can go back towards the 280 rupees per share if everything gets resolved. That's the price the stock was trading at prior to the entire cancellation of the coal blocks. Deutsche Bank as well, they upgraded the stock to hold. They have a target price of around 186 rupees. They believe that in fact all this overhang with regard to the coal supply for their power plant, that's been sorted out, and they say that in the next year, that's FY16, it can give you a profit of around 5 billion, and in the following year, that's FY17, these profits can triple. So that's why at the start of trade, that stock in fact was higher. Intraday it corrected. So all in all, a mixed day with regard to the auctions for JSPL. They won some yesterday, but today they were not so successful.
All right, Nigel, thanks very much. And that is the official confirmation coming in from both the exchanges, the National Stock Exchange and the Bombay Stock Exchange, now confirming that we will see the markets open for trade. It will be a regular trading session, not a truncated trading session on the 28th of February. That is budget day. Now, the fierce bidding for the coal mines means that the government is well on course to better its revenue target. Coal Secretary Anil Swarup spelt out the big numbers today, and so far the centre stands to rake in over 83,000 crore rupees, and states will get nearly 13,000 crore rupees as royalty. He's also confident that all the 204 mines deallocated by the Supreme Court will be auctioned before the end of FY15.
I'd like to assure everyone that the government is committed to increasing coal production. One is by, getting these blocks going. And I'd also like to assure that this auction will not stop even after we complete Schedule 3 mines. We'll have more blocks coming in for auction, and this exercise will continue through the next financial year. Our aim is by March 2016, we would have dealt with almost all these 204 blocks. So if I say that, we are trying to increase the availability of coal.
Well, that's the Coal Secretary. So what does this auction mean for the government's fiscal math and the consumer? Will power tariffs go up? How much is each state likely to earn? Pragya joins us now with the answers to some of those questions. Pragya, what does this all mean?
Well, it was a very interesting press conference by the Coal Secretary Anil Swarup, and this time his focus really was to focus on the kind of value that is getting created as a ramification of these coal block auctions. Now, he highlighted the ways in which this value will get unlocked. First, of course, being the e-auction money, which will come in as a ramification of these coal auctions that are progressing rather at an aggressive pace. So he believes that, up until now, for the 15 blocks that have been auctioned, the government has already raised about 83,662 crores. The states will get all the royalty payment on these mines, so that amount stands at about 1,200 and 800 odd crores. Not just this, there's an indirect value that's created, especially in the power sector, wherein there's reverse bidding that has happened. So as a consequence of the reduction in the power tariffs, the states where the power will be consumed will benefit to the tune of 37,050 crores. So apart from that, the states are the real key beneficiaries in this. Bulk of the coal blocks, as we understand, are located in the eastern states of Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, etc. So therein, we're talking about really big numbers that the state governments will benefit. Of course, all of this over the life of the coal blocks, starting with Odisha, which has garnered about 607 crores. The amount right now is small, but it's expected to go up as more coal blocks located in Odisha will come up for auction. But talk about the big gains that states like Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand and West Bengal have seen, anywhere between 13,000 to about 40,000 crores. Of course, this is followed by Maharashtra. So, even though some of these states have been poorer, but, by the coal auctions that we are seeing, clearly the states seem to benefit in a massive way. And that's what the Coal Secretary had to highlight in the press conference. Back to you.
All right, thanks very much, Pragya. So Madhya Pradesh emerging as the big beneficiary there. And even as the government revels in the success of the coal auctions, it is still facing many legal hurdles. Today, the Delhi High Court decided to hear a plea by Electro Steel challenging the quantum of compensation proposed by the government in the coal ordinance. GVK and JSPL are also fighting similar cases. The Birla Corporation also won relief from the Delhi High Court after its technical bids were disqualified. The court has asked the centre not to stop the company from bidding in the next round. Now, there is more news coming in from the market regulator today. Market regulator SEBI has cracked down on 30 companies for misusing the long-term capital gains tax exemption. Remember, CNBC TV 18 had put the spotlight on some of these companies with dubious balance sheets. Prerna joins us now on the phone line with the details. Prerna, take us through the details of the SEBI order.
Sure, that's right. This is the fourth order by SEBI in its attempt to crack the whip on such shell companies that exist only on paper and who misuse the stock exchange platform in order to avail long-term capital gains tax exemption. Now, SEBI today has passed an interim order against Kamalakshmi Finance and has also barred over 30 entities, including promoters of Kamalakshmi, from accessing the capital market. Now, as per SEBI, shares of Kamalakshmi rose from 10 rupees to 489 rupees in just 150 trading sessions. And SEBI has also found out while its investigation that these 30 entities managed to make a notional profit of more than 1,300 crore rupees against its initial investment of just 42 crores. Now, these funds that were brought in by way of preferential allotments were utilized for purposes other than those disclosed. Now, if you recall, SEBI had bought such shell companies in the recent months, and according to sources, several such listed companies that exist only on paper are under SEBI's flare. And of course, SEBI will also refer all these cases to the Income Tax Department. Back to you, G.
All right, Prerna, appreciate you joining us. So SEBI cracking down on shell companies. This is what the market regulator had promised when he spoke with CNBC TV 18. And this is the fourth order, as Prerna was pointing out. Now, come next week, the much-awaited budget session of Parliament will kick off. Apart from the union budget, the government will try to push 8 ordinances. The session also promises to be a stormy one, with the Congress likely to oppose the government's land acquisition ordinance. Ritu Pranabhuyan joins us now with what we can expect. Ritu, you have a big week coming up.
That's right. This is the first full-fledged budget session that the Modi government will be facing. And, of course, for that, an all-party meeting has been convened on Sunday, after which on 23rd, that's Monday, there will be an address by the President, after which on 24th and 25th, there will be a debate on the Thanksgiving motion. And after that is over, you will see the economic survey, railway budget, and the general budget being presented. But apart from the agenda related to budget, this session is interesting because it will have a heavy-duty legislative agenda as well. It will be interesting to see how the Modi government actually, phases out the different legislative, bills and acts during the entire session. Remember that it will go on till 10th of May. We understand that the easier of the legislations, be it the Right to Services and Grievances Redress Bill or the Amendment to Interstate Water Dispute Act, these will be placed in the first half of the budget session. But the tricky ones, the amendment, the ordinances related to coals or mines, that will be kept in the latter half of the budget session. But it will be interesting to see what happens to insurance, because remember that the Congress actually did not have any objection to the insurance bill, and hence we'll have to see what stand the Congress takes on this crucial legislation, which has to be converted into a act in the budget session. With that, it's back to you.
Well, it promises to be an exciting budget session, as Ritu was pointing out. Hopefully, we will see the government manage its floor better and bring the Congress on board. As far as the insurance bill is concerned, land ordinance is another story altogether. I think that one is going to face tough times. Now, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley is likely to part with a much higher share of central taxes to the state government in his budget next Saturday, with Jaitley scheduled to table the 14th Finance Commission report in Parliament next week. CNBC TV 18 learns that states' share in the central taxes may go up by a hefty 2.5% over the current formula of 32%. Sources indicate that the Prime Minister's call for cooperative federalism with states will nudge the Finance Minister to open the purse strings. The new higher devolution formula will be implemented from the 1st of April 2015 and stay in force for the next 5 years.
The government may put out a smile on the faces of state finance ministers, with the finance minister all set to table the report of the 14th Finance Commission in Parliament next week. CNBC TV 18 learns the state's share in central taxes could witness a sharp markup by as much as up to 2.5% over the current formula of 32% suggested by the previous 13th Finance Commission. The 14th Finance Commission recommendations may also be based on the 2011 census against the 1971 census. This may lead to huge gains in terms of higher devolution to population-heavy states like UP, Bihar, West Bengal, among others. But to minimize the impact of a higher devolution on its own finances, the centre may reduce grants to states under centrally sponsored schemes. Analysts say even a sharp markup in the devolution formula is unlikely to impact union finances in a major manner.
The determination of the shareable pool, as we already discussed on the various factors based on GST implementation and the centrally sponsored schemes and the plan and non-plan being now merged. So because of that, the amount of money that is likely to be there in the hands of the centre for spending may not reduce to that extent that it will have an impact on the deficits or its ability to spend, the central government's ability to spend on the activities that come under the union list.
So while the new mantra of cooperative federalism, including the need for states' cooperation to push the goods and service tax, may nudge the finance minister in being more generous with them, the centre will have to be more careful in setting its expenditure priorities right, especially in the coming budget. In New Delhi, Sapna Das.
Well, what can we expect from the Finance Minister come the 28th of February? A poll conducted by CNBC TV 18 and BMR Advisors shows that tax experts expect growth to take precedence over the fiscal deficit. A majority also expect tax stops to boost manufacturing and GAR to be deferred. But the surcharge on high-income earners could continue and no forward movement on DTC is likely. I spoke with the top team at BMR Advisors to discuss those poll findings. I started off by asking them about their expectations on the GST.
The key action that needs is on the Constitutional Amendment Bill, which is not going to happen on 28th. But you do expect some affirmative statements, some very strong statements that need to come out. Also, you would not want to see any changes in the current structure of indirect taxes which are contrary to GST, because that would be a wrong signal. One does expect some changes should be aligned to the GST. So
service tax, and we've had this conversation. Do you really believe that he is going to move on the service tax rate in order to align it to the eventual GST rate?
If you're talking about is there a case to increase the rate of service tax, I personally believe there is a case to increase, because eventually the service tax will climb as GST comes in. But if it's only left at that, that might disappoint a lot of people, because there is a huge issue on unlocked credits and restrictions on credits. So if it's a combination of those factors, that would be the step in the right direction, that you align the credit scheme. And if that means that there's a certain increase in rates, that's fine.
Okay.
But there has to be strong statements in the budget as part of his affirmation to continue targeting the deadline.
But on service tax specifically, yes or no? A hike from 12 to 14?
I think there's a case, yes. In my vote is yes for that.
MAT. We've discussed MAT for the last several budget conversations that we've had. This time it seems that maybe to give the Make in India campaign a real push, we are going to see the MAT levy come down significantly, at least as far as some sectors are concerned. Would you agree, Bobby?
I think so. I'd agree.
10%? Down to 10%?
Say between 10 and 12.5.
10 to 12.5. Gokul?
I think that's fair, Shireen. I think the MAT has been creeping up over the last several years.
18.5% now.
And it started from 7.5, 10, and all the way up to 18. I think we should hopefully see a downward trend now.
Across the board, or do you think for specific sectors?
I think he has to fix it for the SEZs, certainly. And then across the sectors, a rate reduction will be very helpful.
Do you also see him significantly removing any DDT-related pain, at least as far as specific sectors are concerned?
I just hope he takes the surcharge and cesses away from that.
FDI-related reforms, what more can we actually see this government announce? Bobby, just yesterday, in fact, the finance minister said, or Amitabh Kant, the DIPP secretary, said that, I asked my JS to tell me which are the sectors where we actually haven't liberalized FDI, and he was at a loss for words. So with the exception of things like multi-brand retail or hiking the FDI limit in broadcast media, maybe they will look at that, I'm not sure. Do you really see any significant big-ticket FDI-related items in the budget?
See, I don't actually, for that reason. But then I would just ask the question that why do we need to still have a 100-page FDI compendium? So what does that contain? And why does it need to be 100 pages? And why can't it just be these 3 sectors or 4 sectors where there is some caps that they need to maintain for strategic reasons or whatever? But the rest of it should not exist at all. So, you know, we opened up everything a while ago. Now we should ask the question that do we need to really be looking for sectors and, you know, 7.49 to 74, 74 to 100.
Gokul, what do you expect as far as GAR is concerned?
One of the ticklish issues has been the Mauritius tax treaty. And there's been a fair bit of joint working committee activities over the last couple of years between India and Mauritius to try and look at what to do with the safeguards in the tax treaty. Now, if they're able to, in the next 12 months, 24 months, resolve as to how they want to put in the limitation of benefit test in the Mauritius treaty, then that takes away a lot of the uncertainty that GAR brings to the discussion. So maybe we'll see some sort of an alignment between the resolution of the Mauritius tax treaty and the discussion there too, and when GAR should thereafter be coming in. Because one of the troubles with GAR is that it has a treaty override concern. And the main treaty override which people are concerned with is the Mauritius treaty.
Well, there's just some of the findings of the CNBC TV 18 BMR poll. Remember, it's almost a week now to the budget. Markets will be trading on the 28th of February. That official intimation is coming from the stock exchanges. From all of us here, goodbye. Many thanks for watching.
Aditya Birla Group presents Budget 2015, the Make in India Budget. Co-presented by SBI, only on CNBC TV 18.